Hi there, I'm Mindy Tate. I'm here today with Valencia Breckenridge, the CEO of GraceWorks Ministries, and Alicia Bell, the rising CEO of GraceWorks Ministries. There's a lot of joy in this room for a variety of reasons. Retirement's always something to be joyful about, I would imagine, but also a new career, a defining moment as you're really delving in and making a commitment to GraceWorks, and we'll come back and talk about that in a minute, Alicia, with you. But Valencia, 8 years ago, you came to Franklin.
I did.
And what was your first impression of Franklin, and what caught your eye about that GraceWorks job?
So I learned about the job on the Center for Nonprofit Management website. I hail from Chicago, and I had opportunity to do some work in Tennessee with a prior job and just fell in love with the state is aptly named. It is the volunteer state. The other organization I was with, we required lots and lots of volunteers. But I also loved faith-based. It was the first time I was somewhere where people ask your name, what you do, and then the third question is what church you go to. Mm-hmm. And so I loved that. But what really appealed to me as I read the job description for a CEO of GraceWorks Ministries while I sat in Chicago was looking at Williamson County, which is really a utopian county. When you look at average salary and how many people are degreed and have advanced degrees, and the industry, what the schools are able to accomplish with our children. And it doesn't beg the question, why a GraceWorks? And for me, the why was people really having a tangible and compassionate care for others in their community. The neighbor serving neighbor mission really spoke to my heart. I have personally always embraced the fact that I am my brother's keeper. I also believe that he is mine. And so our neighbor serving neighbor mission statement that shows that two-way street, our need for each other, our obligation, especially as Christians, to show God's tangible love to those in need. That resonated with who I am. It resonated with my faith. I knew that this job would be my swan song as I realized the age I was applying, and I thought, man, to end with this kind of bang, to come into a community that I didn't know was an adventure, right? To come south, to come to Tennessee, to come to Franklin. I came alone. I often, when I say that, have to cover my dog's ears because he came with me. Mm-hmm. But it was the mission, looking at the environment that the mission was operating in, looking at the state of Tennessee and the culture here was all part of what I wanted to engage in.
So did you come for an in-person visit? Had you ever been to Tennessee or the Nashville area? And what was your first impression or your first person you met?
Yes. Where the ministry I was with prior operator was in Chattanooga. I had never been to Nashville and never heard of Franklin. When I saw on the job description it was Franklin, the first thing I looked at was, do they have a McDonald's? My inner city mindset was like, Lord, please don't let it be cows in the road. And if they have a McDonald's, we'll be fine. I remember calling back home multiple times with the saying, Dorothy, we are not in Kansas anymore. I was amazed at the trust, to see, I'll just use downtown Franklin as an example. Sidewalk sales where people have things on sale, the whole rack is out there in Chicago. That would be gone. One of the first things that I was surprised about, I think others were surprised, I had never heard or tasted chestnut. And so my first week, someone bought me chestnut. I believe it was Kevin Riggs, but the first person to reach out to me and take me to lunch was Alma McLemore.
Wow.
And we went to the factory. And she wanted to show me the factory, and she welcomed me warmly. And I have been warmly welcomed and supported ever since.
But you also dove right into the community. You got busy as the CEO of GraceWorks. You've been expected to do that, but you also got busy and got involved in programs, a faith community, and made a life for yourself here. So much so that your son followed you. Should I do that?
My son followed me. I would love to say that I was the reason, but his college roommate and football teammate had moved to Green Hills right after graduation. So actually, my son had been coming to the national area way before I was even thinking about it. And when he saw how close Franklin was to Green Hill, he was like, yeah, I'm coming with him. And Mindy, I did get very involved. I was kind of in shell shock with all the things that people were inviting me to. But one of the first things I did was to join Leadership Franklin. I think I'd been here 6 months. I'm like, wait, what are we doing? And it was a fabulous experience for me as a new person to the community and an opportunity to get to meet other leaders. And many of them I'm still in touch with and consider them good friends.
So you made a bold move. People don't often move across the Midwest or the country to come and take a job in an organization that's not a national organization, but really a local group. So what was your first impression of GraceWorks, and what was the first thing you thought, I got to get this, I got to get a handle on this, or I got to put this at the forefront of our network?
My first impression of GraceWorks was one that really tore at my heart when I saw the number of volunteers we have versus the number of staff. It showed me I was right. People really cared. I looked at the generous support of all their treasures. Time, talent, finances. I mean, people just poured into GraceWorks. People poured into me. Our first board meeting that I had, the board, instead of doing a formal CEO report, asked me to write about first impressions. And so it was an opportunity to reflect on the community, to reflect on GraceWorks. What I saw was a ministry who had great intentions, wasn't quite going about accomplishing those intentions in the way that was best, in my opinion. I remember being asked at my interview when I came for the face-to-face interview after many phone interviews, and I was asked the question, are you going to run this like a business or like a ministry? I came with an MBA, right, downtown Chicago financial district experience, and lots of nonprofit experience, but you can't help but look at what had been at GraceWorks before and who had been at GraceWorks before. And my answer was that I want us to be a ministry that handles our business. Wow. And I saw our donors as stakeholders. I thought that we owed them an accountability, that we owed them good stewardship, that we owed them a passing on of the generosity that they showed us to those that we were serving.
So there are a lot of nonprofits.
Yes.
Williamson County, Franklin and Williamson County, and people are often connected to the Nashville area. But what is it about GraceWorks that you think draws people's support and has them give their time, talent, and treasures? And Alicia, I'll follow up with you.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Homegrown. You know, GraceWorks was started in 1995 by a group of ecumenical Christians in the Franklin community who came together to ask the question, how do we care for our neighbors? How do we care for those who have fallen through the cracks? Mindy, I have heard from so many of how Franklin has changed. And, you know, talking to people who say, yeah, I used to hunt at the Cool Springs Mall where, you know, right now, and I remember this and that. I look at the foresight of our founders and thinking through how much this community could change, and consequently how wide the cracks could get for people to fall in between. And I love that they set us up to serve well. They set us up to be forever relevant. They set us up to be sustainable. And so it's just exciting to me to carry on the banner, to carry on the mission, to carry on the heart, to really carry on the programs. I mean, our food, shelter, and support programs and our thrift store are still very much our core things that we do and are very much a part of GraceWorks. So I applaud. I applaud our founders. I applaud their foresight. I applaud what they created that we can carry on, I pray, for decades to come.
Well, and you're passing the baton and the leadership to Alicia. And so the same sort of question, what do you think? You've been the director of development for the last few years, and that's a job. That can be a tough job. But people here are generous, and people support GraceWorks. Why do you think that they choose to support GraceWorks above other nonprofits or organizations, or in consort with them?
I think every reason is very personal, but the theme that I feel, the heart for GraceWorks, is that we have this perfect marriage of, I really do believe, even if we were a secular organization, that our model is quite successful. Being able to surround a neighbor the way that we do is efficient, it is dignified, and it sees the neighbor. And so I think the way that we are organized is an attraction, but I really think the heart and why we have survived a lot of difficult seasons, many of which Valencia has seen, is because people believe that we're going to share their heart for the neighbor, right? And that was my job as director of development, to be able to share with them, yes, we're very efficient, we run a tight ship, we make the best use of your dollar, but we're going to do it with the neighbor's heart in mind the most. And for us, that's a Christian organization. It's to invite someone past the tangible relief that we offer and into a longer term hope that we hope everybody feels when they encounter any aspect of GraceWorks. So I really think that marriage of the two is what's so inspiring.
And so let's talk a little bit about that. So as a Christian ministry, as a ministry, sometimes it's difficult for people to accept help because they've been the person giving that help. And yet we've been through, let's see, in the last 8 years, GraceWorks has faced eviction a time or two. We've been through the pandemic. We've been through an increased need associated with the pandemic, all those things. So this is also a way for people to be generous to a neighbor and support a neighbor, but not do so in a way that maybe uncomfortable or difficult for them, right? So let's talk a little bit about the past 8 years and all those three things we just mentioned.
Yeah.
Eviction, need,
Good baby.
let's talk about
Daisy.
increased need. So I've read something somewhere that said when you came, you had about 7,500 client interactions, and over the last year, that's almost double.
It has more than double.
So let's talk about the increased need in our community. We'll let Alicia join in on that discussion. But the increased need in our community, and did those things like the pandemic have some impact on that?
Well, there has been an increased need. I mean, we all have seen the rising prices of all necessities, right? Shelter, food, utilities. And you look at people, I'm amazed that Franklin is one of the oldest cities in Williamson County. And so we have a lot of generations who live here and want to continue living here. This is home for mama, grandma, great-grandma, and yet they find themselves not being able to afford it. The thing I want everyone to be aware of is GraceWorks serves both generational and situational poverty. And we were really able to step into our situational poverty with COVID. The most unlikely people were there to get food. People who never in their work thought, right? The music manager who's used to booking groups every
private jet,
right? Flight on all of that, all of a sudden, because we were closed down, there were no concerts. There weren't restaurants to manage. Everything closed down so much. That Uber driver whose cash cow is Saturday and Sunday in Nashville, right? That you've got work. All of a sudden, everything has shut down. We had some amazing opportunities to serve. I remember one Uber driver, and our rule was that we would hope you'd come once a month to get food. And we saw this particular Uber driver every week, and we thought, why's he coming every week? As it turns out, he had turned it into a ministry. He was giving his neighbors rides to come through our food pantry and get food. Our neighbor serving neighbor mission really resonated with him. So just navigating that was a fun season for us. And I say that, and I know that's an odd word to use. During that season, we decided no one have a job description, that we would do rent and utilities online, but everybody would serve food. Mindy, we typically give out 45, maybe 50 carts on a good day where we're open from 9 to 4. We were only doing carts half days from 9 to noon. There was one particular day we gave out 180 plus carts in that amount of time. I mean, we've taken pictures of what those lines look like, but the camaraderie that happened for us. I love God's economy. You don't serve without God doing something in your heart through the serving. And so we as staff who typically don't have face-to-face interaction with our neighbor got a chance to pray with people, to serve them, to see their faces, to hear their stories. And I think it turned staff's heart stronger to GraceWorks. We rolled up our sleeves together. We all were lifting boxes and filling carts and running back and forth and sweating and trying to remember to keep our masks up.
Yeah, I remember the time fondly too. I mean, in the moment, it was very stressful and intense and unknown.
Yeah,
but there was a lot of beauty, and it was just witness to the community too. It wasn't us; it was us giving what was being given to us.
Yeah. And God, I have to say this: God works some miracles. There was that day. Remember, we were almost out of food in the pantry, and some people in our community pulled up with pickup trucks full of food. They had seen it. We had the Coca-Cola industry, I believe it was in Georgia or one of the Carolinas, see our social media and said, we want a part of that. They sent us $10,000. We had all kinds of eyes on us, and people loved what they saw.
So that was a difficult time. Yeah, you like to have fun, and so I'm sure you made it. But also, those people who came, neighbor to neighbor, serving neighbor, but also generosity hopefully breeds gratitude. What are the joys and results have been reaped since the pandemic and increasing the opportunities that exist at GraceWorks?
I think I was a director of development at that time, so I was paying attention to the money, and it costs a lot more to do 180 carts a day than 40. And so the big prayer was, one, how are we going to sustain this, and then what happens after, right? Everyone was anticipating a cliff of support, and we were preparing for that. We were trying to educate these donors who were learning about us or engaged for the first time, and by blessings of GraceWorks faith and stamina, we were able to sustain our operating revenue and then continue to meet that need, right? There was a lot of effect after the probably the pinnacle of what we all experienced. And we were able to walk with neighbors for a bit longer and get everybody on their feet. So I was just really encouraged to see how GraceWorks was stepped up to the call. We invited others to step with us, and they thought, "Ooh, I want a taste of that. I'm like, I want to keep being a part of this."
Yeah.
And so yeah, I was encouraged by that.
And you've seen that really play out in the growth of your, not just in the growth of me, but also like the growth of your budget and the support levels that you're able to put forward.
Right.
And volunteers.
Oh, man. And our volunteers, that was a huge one. But you're right. I mean, we were able to scale. And while COVID was a huge, huge piece of our history, the reality is we were seeing high demand before that. And we were already asking, how are we going to do this? We had doubled our food pantry, I think the year before or 2 years before, and it just kept growing. And so we were already identifying this issue of a beautiful, growing local community and what was happening to a segment of the population who had never needed help before because of that growth. And I'm not against growth. I'm born and raised here. I love Franklin. And I'm happy to welcome anybody who called this place home. But that was the reality that we were already trying to combat. And so we were able to learn a lot in a quick time frame how to do that better. And I think we came out of COVID so much stronger and able to tolerate, since COVID, it hasn't stopped. Demand for our services has continued to increase. So we were equipped.
But in places that we really had not
Right.
as much before.
It is true.
We see those populations who saw the quantity and quality of food that we give out. They still come. The word got out, and we want that. We want to serve.
So the other big challenge that's been facing the last 8 years is the unsure nature of where GraceWorks is heading and how. You faced challenges a couple times on that. And, you launched capital campaigns and you've launched the search. And there's good news to report, maybe? Will we hear?
Well, the first good news is that I feel comfortable publicly sharing is we do have a LOI, a letter of interest, out to a church and for the purchase of property there. Our big barrier was the zoning. And so was it a week ago, 2 weeks ago? We had attended the meeting of the Envision Franklin Planning Commission, and I'm so pleased to report that vote went in our favor, that we can be at that property. It feels significant to us because this is one of the founding churches who was at that original table. And for them to see our need and look within themselves and say, this is our baby. How can we help? We're excited about that opportunity. We pray that it comes to fruition. I am hoping that we'll be able to shout the full information from the rooftops once all paperwork has been signed.
So that's kind of a legacy for you is sort of removing that barrier that was there and finding that hopefully permanent home.
Yes.
So that means a lot of work as a new rising CEO and in terms of development and other things. So what's ahead for GraceWorks, Alicia?
I think a season of blessing, which is going to require significant faith from us as well. Not that God requires anything from you to bless you, but I do envision us stepping out into faith. And if this is the property, to acquire that property and to build on it is going to take evidence of that beautiful community we talked about earlier. It is going to take a big trust in our future, which I think our future is incredibly bright with the services that we provide and being able to scale those. But it will be an absolute relief to have this barrier of where are we going to be out of our conversations, to be done with it and to say, this is where we're going. And now we can dream about what we can do in a space that is really designed for us. So
are you two peas in a pod, or are you an offshoot of this tree as we look at the future?
that's cute.
You work well together.
Yeah.
But are you killing on her legacy, or are you helping to build your own at this point in your career at
That's a great question. I mean, I would be silly not to try to carry on the work that she has done. It really has been such a beautiful season in my career to work with Valencia, for and with Valencia, because I've been able to witness somebody overcome things that I could have never done yet. And now I was able to learn those skills, and she poured into me along the way. And she was able to also speak honestly to me. And that's what you want in a boss, to have somebody who can see you for who you are and bring you to your best traits. And so I'm just very thankful for that gift of mentorship. But we're similar in a lot of ways. We're also different, and we know that about each other, which has been fun.
It's been a blessing. I look, and I have said to everybody, Alicia's younger, cuter, smarter. And so how can we lose? But one of the strengths that I applaud in Alicia is that she is a creative, strategic thinker. And also, it's so important that someone be savvy in social media today. I make all kind of jokes, and I am the butt of all kind of jokes at GraceWorks because I'm not on social media. I look at the relationships that Alicia has forged, the respect internally and externally. She is greatly admired. There's not a place I go to, if Alicia hasn't been there already, that I don't hear, man, she's fabulous. You know, and I look at who Alicia is, and I have said this to her before, if I were half the woman she is, at this age, I'd be queen of the world. And it just speaks to the respect and the confidence. So many people talked about, how do you feel about retiring? And just this morning, I was asked that question. I had the opportunity to say, I have the privilege of passing on a ministry I love to someone I love, respect, and admire. It doesn't get better than that. You know, when I came here at 62, I knew this would be my swan song. It was always the plan to retire at 70. I didn't have a vision that I would have someone I'm so proud to pass off the baton to. It is the sweetest icing on the cake, along with Bicky Cooper ice cream, sprinkles, and a cup of Coca-Cola right next to it. Yes, I'm very excited.
So we're going to celebrate. Yeah, we're going to celebrate her.
We are.
Right, Alicia?
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about celebrating Valencia,
Yeah.
how people can support that, and how people can attend.
Yes, so we're going to do a community-wide reception at GraceWorks, per her request, to have it at our home on June 27th. And that's from 3:30 till 7, a come-and-go reception indoors for some AC. But we're closing for the day. That's actually the day before her last day in office with us, and we're just going to stop and celebrate her, of course, with goodies, cake included, and just cherish the legacy that she has left for GraceWorks.
Yeah.
And she's hoping to leave a financial legacy also, because there's a special fund. Tell us a little bit about how people can support that.
You're right. And I love that I get to answer this question because I get to express her heart a little more than she probably would overtly do out of humility. But so her heart has been to remove this unknown of our future building for GraceWorks. And so she has said that if anybody was going to give in her honor, for it to be a part of that solution. And so we, by approval of the board, have created a fund called Foundations for the Future. And that will allow us, those costs that we anticipate will be coming sooner rather than later. Just those, they're not all unknown, but some of them we know will be unknown, just for permitting, imaging, pictures, meetings with our architects, things like that we need to be able to get the ball rolling as we move into this next chapter in a new building. So there's a Foundations for the Future fund, and that is all to honor Valencia.
Last day, end of June, and are you comfortable that you're leaving this in the right hand?
Oh, I'm more than comfortable. I am excited. I'm more than comfortable. again, I look at God's plans. We didn't know 7 years ago when we met what would be our future. And I can't think of a better person, and GraceWorks too. I'm quite excited.